You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
Imagine waking up tomorrow and finding out that the bottom tier of your entire industry just evaporated.
Right. Just completely gone overnight.
Yeah. I mean, the entry-level work, the stuff that usually gets young professionals in the door.
The foot in the door jobs, yeah.
Exactly. Just wiped out, like a massive chunk of an ecosystem is just missing. And according to the data we're looking at today, entry-level design projects on platforms like, Upwork, they plummeted from making up 15% of the market to below 9%.
Which is a staggering drop.
It really is. And it didn't take a decade. That happened within just 8 months of ChatGPT's launch.
It's a brutal correction, honestly. And, it paints a very clear picture of what is happening on the ground level of the creative economy right now.
Oh, absolutely.
The barrier to producing something that looks visually acceptable hasn't just been lowered. It's basically been removed completely.
Which completely upends what it actually means to be a creator,
Completely.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We've got a really fascinating stack of sources today.
We do. Some really good stuff.
Yeah, we're pulling from mid-May 2026 editions of various design and tech newsletters.
Right, looking at everything from software leaks to physical furniture design.
Exactly. Our mission today is tracking this massive shift in how the products you and I use every single day are being built. And, what happens to the human designer when AI is doing all the heavy lifting?
It's the big question right now.
It is. We are going to explore why a completely fake rock band forced Spotify into a corner.
That's a wild story.
So wild. We're also going to look at how data from video games is teaching AI models about gravity, of all things.
Which makes total sense when you break it down.
And we'll get into why your absolute most valuable professional skill is no longer your ability to create, but your judgment. Okay, let's unpack this.
I think we have to start with the mechanics of that Upwork statistic you mentioned.
Yeah, let's go back to that, the drop to 9%.
Right. When we say the bottom of the market is gone, what we are really talking about is commodity work.
The basic stuff.
Exactly. I mean, why would a small business pay a junior freelancer to, say, iterate on a mood board or mock up a really basic social media graphic?
Right, when they could just do it themselves.
Exactly. They can use a $20 a month subscription to Midjourney or Canva,
Yeah.
and they can generate 50 perfectly viable options in 10 seconds.
The speed is just undeniable.
Yeah.
But, looking through the source material, particularly there's this newsletter piece titled Product Design with AI, I'm seeing a massive hidden cost to that speed.
Oh, there's always a hidden cost.
Right. The piece points out that while AI makes it remarkably easy to build something polished, it makes it equally easy to build something incredibly fragile.
Yes, the fragility. That is the key issue here.
Like people are generating entire user interfaces or huge chunks of code without actually understanding the underlying architecture.
Right. If an AI builds a database structure for your app and you don't actually know how the data flows from point A to point B,
You're in trouble.
you're going to be completely lost the moment a user does something unexpected. The system breaks. You haven't built a robust product. You've just built a very pretty facade.
It's, I'm trying to picture how this plays out in a real company. It sounds like using a translation app to argue a complex legal case in a foreign language.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Like, you might sound perfectly fluent to the judge while you are just reading off your phone, right?
Right.
But the second the opposing counsel asks you an unscripted follow-up question, you are completely exposed. Because you don't actually understand the grammar, you just generated the words.
That is the perfect analogy. And that exposure is exactly why leadership in these fields is shifting so radically right now.
How so?
Well, our sources highlight Tay Bannerman. He's a former McKinsey partner and a software engineer.
Okay.
He is launching a new course called AI Strategy for Design Leaders. And his central thesis is that modern design leadership requires a total departure from pixel production.
Meaning actually doing the drawing or designing.
Exactly. The value isn't in pushing the pixels around anymore. The value is in ethical judgment, understanding the broader context, and systems thinking.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
If I am an everyday designer and I'm using AI to generate all the actual assets, the images, the layouts, the copy, am I even a creator anymore?
That's what everyone is asking.
It just feels like we're losing the hands-on craft. Am I just a conductor now waving a baton at an orchestra of AI agents? Has the whole idea of being a solo artist just died?
What's fascinating here is that the craft hasn't died. Our understanding of originality is just being forced to mature.
Forced to mature. What do you mean by that?
Well, look at the piece in our stack titled "The Thinking Was Never Just Mine." It argues that human creativity has always been a massive synthesis of outside influences.
Okay, sure.
The books you read, the conversations you have, the culture you live in, they all shape your work.
Right, but we just like the romantic illusion that our ideas sparked out of thin air.
Precisely. We were never really creating in a vacuum, but now, when you use an AI tool like Anthropic's Claude as a rapid iteration partner, that external influence becomes physically visible.
Because it's right there on the screen.
Exactly. You can literally scroll back up through your chat history and watch the collaboration unfold. So, what makes the final output yours?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is the consistent pattern of choices you make.
Ah, the judgments.
Yes, the judgment. The AI generates 10 wildly different concepts. You reject 9 of them.
Right.
You ask the AI to refine the 10th one, but, to make the tone warmer. The ownership comes from your specific taste and the boundaries you set. You have transitioned from the doer to the director.
But stepping into that director role sounds honestly exhausting if you don't have a system.
It can be overwhelming.
Because if an AI can generate infinite variations of a design, I can see how you would just drown in choices.
Decision fatigue is absolutely the biggest risk for the modern worker right now. If you don't establish boundaries, the AI will pull you into an endless rabbit hole of slight variations.
Which is why the sources recommend 3 specific productivity hacks for navigating this in 2026.
Let's hear them.
First, building a personal component library.
Essential.
For the listener who might not be in software design, a component library is essentially a bucket of pre-built digital Lego bricks.
Right.
Instead of designing a new button or a new menu every single time, you just grab the pre-approved button from your library. It stops you from using AI to reinvent the wheel for basic structural things.
It standardizes the commodity pieces. That way you can spend your cognitive energy on the actual problem you are trying to solve.
Exactly. The second hack is making critiques asynchronous by default.
Oh, this is a big one for corporate culture.
Right. Instead of gathering 10 people in a room to argue over a design which takes forever, teams are using AI note-taking apps to compile feedback offline.
Everyone just drops their thoughts in.
Yeah. The AI summarizes everyone's thoughts, flags the contradictions, and presents a neat document. You only actually meet in person if there's a fundamental disagreement.
It just strips away all that administrative busywork.
It really does. And the third one, this is the one that really stood out to me, is instituting a strict 90-minute time box for exploration.
That is the most crucial psychological defense against the AI rabbit hole we were talking about.
Because without it, you'll just sit there typing prompt after prompt, tweaking the lighting on a generated image for 3 hours.
Easily. You lose track of time.
The 90-minute limit forces the issue. Once the timer goes off, you have to stop generating and actually apply your judgment. You have to commit to an idea.
And if human judgment is the ultimate premium skill now, we run into a really fascinating secondary problem.
Which is?
How do companies prove to you, the user, that there is actually a human behind the wheel? Because right now, we are wading through an era of profound digital mistrust.
Oh, it's a default assumption now. If I see a stunning piece of art or read a perfectly polished corporate blog post, my first thought isn't, wow, someone is really talented. My first thought is, which AI generated this?
Exactly. And platforms are panicking over this loss of trust.
Take Spotify, for instance. The sources detail how they are currently scrambling to roll out a Verified by Spotify badge for non-AI artists.
Yes.
They want to verify over 99% of actively searched artists to prove they have consistent listeners and a real identifiable presence off the platform.
And we should mention the catalyst for this panic.
Oh, we have to.
It was a band called the Velvet Sundown.
A completely fabricated rock band.
Entirely fake.
They don't exist.
No.
No human members. Everything was entirely generated by AI, from the instrumentals to the vocals. And they racked up 1 million streams on Spotify before people even caught on.
1 million streams. Spotify realized that if users can't trust that they're supporting actual human artists, the emotional connection to the platform completely shatters.
Nobody wants to feel tricked.
Exactly. And we are seeing this desperation for authenticity everywhere, not just in digital music. Physical brands are heavily anchoring themselves to their heritage.
Like a defense mechanism against AI-generated competitors.
Precisely. In the sources, there is a breakdown of the recent Eat marketing redesign of Stokes coffee.
Stokes is an old brand, right? Like 124 years old.
Very old. Now, typically, when a brand that old wants to redesign its packaging for a modern market, the instinct is to go sleek, minimalist, very clean.
The classic tech startup aesthetic.
Yeah.
Pastel colors, sans serif fonts.
Exactly. But Stokes went the complete opposite direction. They knew their greatest asset in 2026 is the fact that they have a real century-long history of actual humans roasting coffee.
Because you cannot generate a 124-year heritage with a prompt.
You can't. So they leaned heavily into illustrations called Stokes people. These aren't generic graphics, they are character illustrations based on real staff members and family from the company's past.
Oh, I love that. They are using physical human roots as an anchor for trust. If you are drinking their coffee, you are interacting with a human lineage, not an algorithm. And if we look at how aggressively companies are defending that human trust, we have to look at Apple.
Oh, the trademark dispute?
Yeah, the EU just ruled in their favor against a Chinese company called Yichun Kinningming.
And this company, they made keyboards, right? And used a logo of a citrus fruit.
A piece of citrus fruit, yeah.
Yeah.
But it featured a missing bite out of the side and a little leaf motif on top.
Sound familiar?
Right. The EU ruled that even though it was a distinctly different fruit, consumers could mentally associate it with Apple's branding. Apple aggressively policed its visual borders because brand recognition is the shortcut to user trust.
If the borders get blurry, the trust dilutes.
Exactly.
Trust really is the ultimate currency. But how we build that trust in software design is currently undergoing a massive rethink.
Okay, here is where I want to push back on the tech industry's approach for a second. When I log into a new AI tool, I am usually greeted by a completely blank text box and a blinking cursor. From a philosophical standpoint, isn't that the purest form of digital trust?
How so?
The platform is giving me a completely blank canvas and saying, we trust your judgment, do whatever you want. That feels incredibly empowering to me.
This raises an important question, but the data tells a completely different story.
Really?
Yeah, that blank text box is not trust. It is abandonment. And it is actively driving users away.
Abandonment. How is giving me unlimited freedom abandoning me?
There is an excellent analysis in our sources called The Death of the Empty State in AI Products.
Okay.
It shows that presenting a user with a blank prompt box causes massive spikes in first session drop-off rates. When you give a user absolute freedom without context, you force them to invent a workflow entirely from scratch. They have to guess what the AI is capable of, guess how to format their requests, and guess what the output will look like. It is incredibly high friction.
Oh, I see. It's like dropping someone into an airplane cockpit and saying, feel free to fly anywhere.
Yes.
If I don't know what the buttons do, the freedom is useless. I'm just going to get out of the plane.
You're going to panic and leave.
So if a blank canvas is bad design, what are these companies supposed to be doing? Are they giving users a multiple-choice quiz before they can use the tool?
Not a quiz, but structured guidance. True user trust requires worked examples. When you log in, the interface shouldn't be empty.
It should have options.
It should offer clear, clickable starting actions, summarize this document, or generate a weekly schedule. It requires interactive guidance and, crucially, visibly stated limitations.
All right.
You need to provide the guardrails so the user can achieve a quick win without having to become a master prompt engineer first.
You have to build the sandbox before you invite people to play. And what is wild is that this need for boundaries and structured rules isn't just a human psychology problem. It is exactly the problem AI developers are slamming into right now as they try to teach these models about the physical world.
This is perhaps the biggest bottleneck in AI right now. Large language models like ChatGPT are incredibly smart when it comes to text because they ingested the internet.
Sure.
But the physical world is not made of text.
Right.
If you want an AI to understand how to pack a box, or how a shadow moves when the sun sets, or what happens when a glass falls off a table, text data won't help you. It needs to understand physics.
Which brings us to the $8 million seed funding for a company called Origin Lab. Their entire mission is to create a marketplace connecting AI labs with video game companies.
To build what are called world models.
Right, and I was initially confused by this. Why video games? Why not just feed the AI 1 million hours of YouTube videos so it can watch humans interacting with the world?
Because a YouTube video is just the flat 2D array of pixels. An AI watching a video doesn't inherently understand that a ball is a 3D object with mass, or that gravity is pulling it down. It just sees pixels changing color. But a video game,
Yeah.
A video game is built on a physics engine.
The data is mathematically structured.
Yes.
When a character in a game jumps, the game engine calculates the mass, the trajectory, the hitboxes, and the collision detection. Every single interaction in a video game is a structured lesson in spatial physics.
Precisely. Origin Lab is buying this licensed gaming data because it is the only way to effectively teach a world model how three-dimensional reality actually functions.
It is a brilliant use of decades of game development.
It really is. But there is a deep irony here, too.
What's that?
While the AI models are using structured physical rules to learn how the world works, tech companies are having to scramble to return physical rules to human interfaces.
Oh, you were talking about the iOS 27 design leaks.
I am. It's a perfect example.
According to the reports, Apple is making some major reversions to its software. Because last year, in iOS 26, they rolled out this design language called liquid glass.
Right.
A big feature was these collapsing tab bars. If you were in Apple Music or Photos, the main navigation menu at the bottom of the screen would minimize and disappear as you scroll down, supposedly to give you more screen space.
A very minimalist, highly aesthetic choice.
Right.
And functionally, a disaster.
A complete disaster, because when you hide the navigation, you destroy the user's mental map of the app.
Users got completely lost.
Yeah. Users had to physically tap the screen just to wake the menu back up, and then tap a second time to actually do what they wanted. It made everything slower.
It removed the affordances.
The affordances.
Yeah, the visual cues that tell a human thumb, hey, this is a button you can push. Humans need physical reality, even on a glass screen. We need to know where the floor is.
So for iOS 27, the leaks say the collapsing tabs are dead. The permanent visible main tab bar is coming back, and they are putting the search function right back into it.
They had to.
Apple chased an aesthetic trend that ignored how human thumbs and human memory actually operate, and they are being forced to walk it back.
It proves that aesthetics can never override physical utility. And we see this same philosophy playing out in actual physical objects right now, too.
Like what?
Look at the IKEA PS 2026 collection in our sources.
Oh, right. This is the 10th edition of their experimental line. It was led by Maria O'Brien, and she tasked 12 designers with creating furniture specifically for compact living-like tiny apartments.
And strict physical constraints usually lead people to assume the output will be boring. Like if you have to design for a tiny room, you just make a plain, minimalist box that tucks away.
But they did the exact opposite.
They did.
They leaned so hard into the physical interactions that they actually named the furniture after the verbs used to operate them.
Yeah.
Things that fold, things that click, things that transform.
They proved that strict boundaries like designing for a tiny apartment can actually generate more joyful, interactive products.
They didn't hide the mechanics.
Yeah.
They celebrated the clicking and the folding as part of the human experience. So what does this all mean? We have Origin Lab feeding game physics to AI.
Right.
We have Apple admitting their hidden menus failed and bringing buttons back.
Yeah.
We have IKEA making furniture that clicks and transforms.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it all points to one undeniable truth. Whether you are designing a digital interface or a physical chair, the ultimate goal is reducing user friction while providing clear, structured boundaries. Good design provides guardrails.
Just like the Autodesk Project Falcon tool mentioned in the stack.
Exactly. It is a new browser-based 3D modeling tool, but instead of giving a beginner a blank canvas and a terrifyingly complex toolbar, it relies on a kit-bashing workflow.
And kit bashing, for those unfamiliar, is like having a massive bucket of pre-molded digital clay parts. You have a bin of spaceship wings, a bin of thrusters, and you just snap them together. You aren't sculpting from a raw block, you are assembling.
It provides the structure. Just like Apple restoring visible buttons provides structure. Just like IKEA designing furniture that intuitively clicks into place. It removes the friction of the empty state.
It gives you the pieces so you can apply your judgment. Which brings us full circle to you, the listener. If you take anything away from this deep dive, let it be this. In a landscape where AI can instantly generate the raw materials, your ability to blindly create from scratch is no longer your most valuable asset.
It's just not.
Whether you are managing AI workflows, verifying the authenticity of the brands you buy, or just demanding that your phone apps actually make sense, your taste, your boundaries, and your human judgment are what matter. You are no longer just the doer. You are the director now.
And as you step into that director role, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We discussed how AI world models are currently learning the laws of physics by digesting massive amounts of video game data. But think about the fundamental nature of video games. For decades, we have intentionally programmed these digital spaces to break the laws of physics purely for the sake of entertainment.
Oh,
Double jumps, floating platforms, vehicles that never run out of fuel, gravity that bends just to make a puzzle more fun. If that is the foundational training data teaching AI how physical space works, what kind of bizarre, impossible physical assumptions might these future AI models try to carry over into our actual reality?
Now, that is a wild, slightly terrifying thing to think about. When the lines between our physical reality and our digital tools get blurry, human judgment really is the only compass we have left. Thanks for taking the deep dive with us.
Spoken Tech for your ears.